So in this video, we're going to cover brick stitch. So I've started off with my stab stitches there already. If you're not sure what that is, I have another video on how to do that. But brick stitch, it's a really nice filling stitch, just to fill a space. And it's essentially a back stitch. So that's the way I'm going to start off here. So I'm coming up a little bit away from the beginning of the line and going back down in that corner. And again, coming up further along that line and back in to meet the previous stitch. So you don't want your stitches to be too small for this. A couple of millimeters. And you want to try and keep them fairly even. It will just make your life a little bit easier and also look a little bit better. So that's my first line in there. And then we're going to come down and do the next line. And when we come to do brick stitch when we come to do our back stitch along the next line, you're going to go in between those stitches. So from the center point of those stitches rather than in line. Okay, so we don't want our holes to be at the same point all the way down. We want to stagger them like you do when you're laying bricks, basically. So I'm coming up at the center of that stitch in the line above and going back to the beginning. And again, in the center of the stitch above and back to meet the previous stitch. Oops. You want to get in fairly close to the line above as well so that you don't see any fabric in between. And then of course that last stitch will be almost half a stitch as well, like it was at the beginning. Okay, so the ones on the ends there, as you can see, are slightly shorter just to fill in that gap. And then again on the next line, your next line is basically going to be in line with the first line, if that makes sense, because you're going on the halfway point of the stitches above. Now, of course, as with any stitch, you can do this with any number of threads in your needle. Here I'm using 3 strands of stranded cotton, but this stitch looks well with kind of any number of strands or types of thread if you wanted to use a perlay or something instead. So that's pretty much your brick stitch. You just continue on with that until you fill up your space. You just start wherever you finish off when you finish a thread. So like this here, I finish off with my stab stitches as well. So I'll just do them in this space here. And then when you come in with a new thread, you're just starting on that line again in the halfway point of the stitches in the line above. And that's pretty much it. It's a really nice stitch for filling areas. So give that a go. Let me know how you get on. Of course, if you have any questions at all, I'll be happy to answer them. But yeah, best of luck with your brick stitch.